Hey, what's up guys? Mobile gamers now have access to a wider variety of phones that are dedicated to gaming, and the latest we can add to that list is the Nubia Red Magic 3. It comes with a top-notch chipset, a high refresh rate screen, and a built-in fan, but is it all it's cracked up to be? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our full review. If you're not familiar with it, Nubia is a ZTE sub-brand that operates as a separate company, and quite often comes up with bold products with an unusual design. True to the series' heritage, the Red Magic 3 brings a futuristic gamer-style look. It's a solid aluminum unibody, and everything has an angular shape, from the rear camera, to the V-shaped grille for the cooling fan, to the hexagonal fingerprint reader. One unique feature is a customizable LED strip running along the back, quite flashy, to say the least. The active cooling fan is quite interesting. It may be the first we've seen on a smartphone. The air intake is located on the side. We hope that the system is made to last. We wouldn't want to worry about dust and lint getting stuck in there. Needless to say, the Red Magic 3 isn't waterproof either. Despite its solid metal build, you should be careful with it. On the front there is a tall 6.65-inch OLED display with a 1080p resolution. There's no notch cutout here. The selfie cam sits within the thick top bezel. One feature that draws people to gaming phones is a high refresh rate screen, and in this regard they won't be disappointed here. The Red Magic 3 has a 90Hz refresh rate, and overall the UI feels much smoother than a traditional 60Hz panel. The other aspects of this screen aren't very impressive though. It's pretty dim. Max brightness is only 377 nits, and the Red Magic is hard to use outdoors if it's sunny. And color accuracy isn't great either. Whites and grays tend towards pinkish. Another complaint we have is that even though the phone is advertised to support HDR content, this function doesn't seem to work on our unit. Playing back a native HDR video doesn't look good, and we don't get offers for this type of content from Netflix or Amazon Video. Although the Red Magic 3 is an AMOLED, there's no option to enable an always-on display. However, there is an RGB notification LED that sits above the screen. One thing that impressed us was the Red Magic 3's speaker quality. The phone has a stereo speaker setup, and sound is surprisingly rich and full, with nice bass, and loudness is very good. We do wish there was an equalizer to customize the sound though. You can plug in headphones through the 3.5mm jack, and audio here is nicely loud, with great stereo separation. The sound is a bit unbalanced though, and too heavy on the bass, with no way to change it. The Red Magic 3 has 2 nano SIM slots, but there's no slot for expandable storage. You'll have to make do with the 128 or 256 gigs you get out of the box. The fingerprint reader on the back is pretty reliable to wake up and unlock the phone. Its wake up animation is slower than I'd like though, and the hexagon design feels a bit strange. You can use Face Unlock too, but we should keep in mind that it isn't as secure as a fingerprint. The Red Magic 3 has a dedicated hardware switch up at the top, which takes you to a separate UI called the Game Space. It gives you easy access to all of your games, as well as a ton of options for your gaming experience. You can activate the cooling fan here, enter Do Not Disturb mode, turn on any of a variety of performance modes, or tweak settings for hardware accessories. Let's get into the actual performance of the Red Magic 3. It runs on a top-of-the-line Snapdragon 855 chipset. The gaming experience here is nothing short of excellent. Everything runs fast and smooth, and thanks to the active fan, quite cool as well. We noted a measurable improvement in sustained performance with the fan on, and it's quite quiet as well. Similar to the Asus ROG phone, there is a pair of capacitive shoulder triggers near the corners, which are quite comfortable and handy to use for certain games like shooters. They even have haptic feedback, but you don't have many options to tweak them. If you want to take full advantage of the Red Magic's high refresh rate screen, remember that you have to find titles that support a matching 90 FPS frame rate. With the majority of games, you'll be stuck with the traditional 60 FPS. The Red Magic 3 also has support for a variety of peripheral accessories, including an optional controller which attaches to the phone via a special case. And there's a gaming dock which you can buy that connects to these gold pins. Unfortunately, we weren't able to try any of these out. Outside of the game space, the user interface of the Red Magic 3 looks familiar. It's Red Magic OS 2 over Android 9 Pie, and is very close to stock Android on the surface. You get the standard app drawer and the notification shade. No real surprises here, but we wish there was an option for gesture navigation. There is one neat proprietary feature though. The LED Strip app lets you customize the colorful LEDs on the back of the phone with tons of options. One thing we kept running into was poor English translation in the menus. It's sometimes rather confusing, and it made setting up the phone quite a hassle out of the box. A lot of the menus on the phone have an organization problem too, feeling cluttered and unintuitive. Powering the Red Magic 3 is a large 5000 mAh battery. It did great in our proprietary tests, scoring an excellent endurance rating of 112 hours. But know that this is without the LED lights or fan running and consuming extra power. The phone supports Quick Charge 4+, and charging speed should be decently fast. However, we didn't get a charger in the box, so we couldn't test this out. Moving on to the camera, which sort of takes the back seat to the phone's gaming capability. The Red Magic 3 has a single 48 megapixel main cam with a quad Bayer filter, a contrast to the multi-camera setups typical these days. And there is no OIS here. Photo quality is okay, but nothing to get too excited about. There's plenty of detail and vibrant colors. But these shots have a case of severe over-sharpening, especially when HDR isn't on. Also, there's noticeable noise, up to the point of looking grainy. Dynamic range isn't particularly great either, and HDR doesn't completely fix that. It helps with overexposed highlights, but there is more detail lost in the shadows. The 16 megapixel front-facing camera does a pretty decent job. Detail is nice, and so are the colors. Dynamic range is just average though. Moving on to video recording. The Red Magic 3 can capture 4K video at 30 FPS, and quality-wise these are quite similar to the still photos. There's plenty of detail, colors look punchy, but sharpening is aggressive and dynamic range is limited. There's no EIS available either, so handheld videos will be shaky. There is a special trick up the Red Magic sleeve. It can record in 8K as well. That's 4320p. There's definitely more detail here, but it's limited to only 15 FPS, so not really usable for practical purposes. You are able to capture 4K and 8K HDR video as well, but playback didn't work out for us on HDR compatible devices, including the phone itself. So that's the ZTE Nubia Red Magic 3. You get a nice looking gaming phone with solid performance, great cooling with a built-in fan, comfortable shoulder triggers, nice stereo speakers, and excellent battery life. There is quite a bit missing from this package though. While the screen's high refresh rate is great, it's quite dim and hard to use outside. And overall the software layout just isn't very intuitive, with some poor translations throughout. And even though you do get a ton of features here, I wish more were customizable. So overall, the Red Magic 3 is a decent gaming phone, if you're able to get past its spotty software. If you want something that works great out of the box, maybe look elsewhere. But if you're willing to put in the time and the effort to set things up the way you want them, there's plenty of bang for your buck here. Thanks for watching guys, and see you on the next one.